So if you're looking for a good solution to turn your designs, your Figma designs or Adobe XD designs into an actual UI code that runs on React, HTML, CSS, well, look no more, because Locofy is actually the right tool for you. It will actually help you turn your Figma designs into an actual front-end code that runs on React. So Locofy is an awesome tool that allows you to turn your designs into a production-ready front-end code. So you can easily convert your Figma or Adobe XD designs to React, React Native, HTML, Next.js, Gatsby, and so much more actually coming soon. And as you can see here, there's like already so many lines of code already exported. And you can either like watch a demo, you can see exactly how everything moves using Locofy. So to get started this simply, all you gotta do first, you need to install the Figma or Adobe XD plugin. So if you just scroll down a little bit here, you're gonna find Get Plugin, you click on it, you're gonna find Figma plugin or Adobe XD. For me, I'm a big fan of Figma, I use Figma daily. So I'm gonna click on the Figma plugin in here, it's just gonna prompt me a new window that's gonna tell me like, oh, there's actually your design. You click on try it out in here, and you can choose like whatever account you have. I'm gonna choose my account. It's going to take you to like a Figma design, and it's going to give you like an example or a demo on how to use that. Plus, it's going to actually give you the plugin installed for that. All right, so once you go into your design, like you really want to like Locofy and actually convert the design into an actual code. So you go first to the Locofy plugin in here, the main page for the plugin. You go on top in here and you gotta go ahead and create a new project. So first you just go and do click new. And it's actually gonna ask you about the different kind of, like what settings you want to apply to your project, whether you want to use TypeScript or JavaScript, CSS variables or Tailwind, PX pixelators or pixels or REM, Pascal or Kebab keys. Or you can even choose like a framework that you would like to, like Next.js, Gatsby, so much more. So I already created one. I already have like, this is my first project, which uses React. All right, so once you actually choose and create your project in here, I already chose my project. You go ahead into your frame, like your main frame you want to Locofy. So you go to the design optimizer in here to fix and optimize your design. You click on the checkbox in here to activate this, and it's actually going to take you to a brand new page. So first, let's fix the design structure. It's completed. And next, let's apply some auto layout. So here, what it's telling you, oh, there's already some well-grouped frames, actually like the layout in here app applied already, or there's like a setup responsiveness. So this is actually where it's missing. It tells you, you can go ahead and set up this like contents you can view in Figma. So it tells you, oh, the contacts as kind of like web page in here is not really well set up. It has some issues. It doesn't include some responsiveness. So when you like resize this, it doesn't include the responsiveness. So you can do view fix options in here just to tell you exactly how to fix the options. And if you go to this one, like you can go ahead and see this is actually what it did fix for us. It made this responsive. As you can see, when it resize, it actually looks really good. It actually fits the like whatever the web page or whatever the size of the screen. So it works really well. So here we're previewing the fix, and you can go ahead and do confirm fix, and this will go ahead and like fix it for us. And you can go ahead and click done, and actually optimize the design for us, and now it made it much more better and responsive. So in order to be able to actually convert your designs using Locofy, you gotta go ahead and tell Locofy how you should convert that. So you need to give it instructions on how you do that, and that's actually using tagging. So the first way you can do this is actually using manual tagging, where in your design in here, for example, on our landing page, you can go to like, oh, this is actually our simple design in here. Let's say we got those three drop downs where you got like locations, property type, and rent range. So what we want to hear from the user is actually, this is going to be a drop down where the user is going to click and going to see a variety of different property types. So in order to be able to do that, you need to go ahead and tell Locofy how to tag this, and you need to tell Locofy, oh, this type in here or this particular design over here, this component right over here should be a dropdown. So you can just go ahead and double click in here just to make sure you select this one. So once this one is selected and you have Locofy opened in here, you will immediately notice, oh, you got like tag manually, and you got the auto tag in here with local AI, which we're going to be talking about in a second. So for manual tagging in here, if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to find a variety of different options. We're going to go with dropdown. So you select dropdown, you're going to have, oh, which UI library you want to go with. So let's say we're going to use with like InDesign. And as Christine here immediately knows that this variation should be a dropdown. So you can either select a dropdown or something else. So either this dropdown or the different type of dropdown, so you can select a variation. You click on this one. This is actually what it's going to look like. So this is actually like option 1, option 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And here you can give it a comma separated list of options that is going to be like shown when the dropdown is clicked by the user. So for example, we can do like, oh, this could be a villa, apartment, I don't know, studio, something like that. And here is going to tell you exactly how it's going to look like. So it's going to select property type. You have these 3 options, and this is actually the quick preview. You can see it. And you can choose different stuff like an icon, hover trigger, the placements, and so on and so forth. Or you can go with style and layouts. You can select more. And once you're done with that, you can just go ahead and click done. And you're good to go. So you can see now this one is particularly tagged and is being tagged as a dropdown, and you can basically do the same thing for every single component here. So for example, you got 3 other dropdowns in here. You can go ahead and do the same behavior the same way. Maybe you got a button, maybe you got different type of stuff in here, below in here, maybe a select, maybe a dropdown, any other type of component. You can go ahead and do manual tag, and you can use your favorite UI library, and you can let Locofy know how we should handle that. And if you want to go ahead and preview your Locofy design in here, there's actually the drop downs you've created. And for example, select property type. There you go. So this actually shows us a villa, apartment, studio, shows us the types and options we provided. And this works as an actual drop down. While on the other hand, let's say this dropdown here hasn't been tagged just yet. So we can just see the difference between actually tagging and when not tagging. So it's clear in here, the property type. Here you have like selects property type and selects range. This is actually what it looks like. They have an interactiveness. While in this case, like it doesn't work. It just like sits there. It's an actual just design, but it doesn't actually work. It's not attractive. So you have to tag your stuff for it to work properly. Now, the second way you can actually tag your designs using Locofy is actually using AI. So there's this auto tagging with local AI. So if you go to like your frame, so you can select the whole frame in here. So once you do that, you can just go ahead and do auto tagging with local AI. You switch that up, and this is actually what you're gonna get. So you're gonna have like not tag and tag. So it's gonna start actually giving you lists of different components that are not tags and what are potential stuff. For example, this button in here tells you, oh, this is like 51% match of a button, text area, and a checkbox, and it just gives you like different percentages of the different matches. So that's actually pretty good, and it tells you also like what are already tagged, so it doesn't search for those. So you can easily tag those stuff, and you can quickly go through the design using the AI. So it's not like 100% accurate. Sometimes it misses something. So that's why if it misses something, you can just go ahead and use like the manual tagging. You can do it by yourself, but you still got the chance in here to run the AI. It's going to save you a lot of time as well. So for example, since this one, the ramp button here has been selected as a button, you can just do accept, and it just immediately selects that button and tells you like, oh, how do you want to do this? And if obviously it's going to like select a UI library in here. For example, none, we don't want to select anything. You can just go through styling and stuff, and you can do a bunch of stuff in here. You can apply animation to it. You can, for example, change the color of the actual button here. Let's say, oh, I'm going to make this like greenish sort of thing. You click done. And there you go, immediately like change that one and actually auto tag that for us. So that's pretty cool. Now, when it comes to responsiveness, you can do it easily in Locofy. So for example, in here in the preview, so if you go ahead and try to do some responsiveness, clicking on the top in here, you can choose the different like screen sizes and you can toggle between them. So for example, we can do this responsiveness. I can drag and resize the window. If you scroll down a little bit, you can clearly see like into the properties by area, all of these like properties cards are being kind of like squashed together. So like the top row in here, it doesn't look really that good. What we wanted to do is actually to change from a row kind of perspective, like a flex row into a flex column. So we wanted to do something like the ones below right here, where it shows them in a column way, like one after the other, like one under the other, instead of like on the same row when the actual screen is being resized. So what we've got to go ahead and do is actually choose the cards in here, and particularly the row of the cards that you want to actually go ahead and make responsive. So you go into this, you go to the plugin or the Figma, the Locofy plugin in here. For example, it already has a tag of a container. So we want to go ahead and edit that tag. You go to styling and layout, and this is actually where you choose all the layout for this, how you want to do flex column or flex row, the gap between them, the grid. You can just add shadow, you can add strokes, so many stuff. You can control everything in here, including some really awesome CSS effects you can add in here, or even custom CSS stuff. But what we're looking for is actually you can go, as you can see the top in here, actually different media queries and state you can apply to the container. So for example, this is actually by default greater than 1200. This is actually the default and actually applies to everything. And if you go to layout and direction, you have this as a row. So what we're going to go ahead and do is actually less than 1200. So everything below 1200 in here for a desktop or tablet or mobile, they all gonna have the same style. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and overwrite this to become a column. As you can see now, it chose this for us. It made it work on a normal screen in here. Now, instead of the default on row, we're gonna go for column. So if you click on preview for this one, go back. So now if we try to go in and resize the screen, it immediately moves from a row kind of direction into a column direction here when we resize the screen, which make it look absolutely good and so much good. And everything you're going to put in here is going to be synced later on into the actual code that's going to work perfectly with Locofy. All right, so once you're done actually tagging everything you had, you go through all your designs in here, you tag like the designs that you want them to be interactive, you choose your UI component, you do responsiveness, you finish everything, you finish your design setup, and you finish the linking for the Locofy. The final thing you want to go ahead and do right now is actually convert this into code. So how you can do this, you can go ahead and click on view code, and it's actually going to prompt you, oh, you want to only like move this selected frame or all frames. I'm going to go ahead with all frames because the other frames are here too. So each frame in here is going to represent a particular page for our website. So I'm going to go ahead and move this design, all of them, to separate components and actually generate the code in React. And here you can go ahead and select some settings. So for example, oh, you want to use JavaScript or TypeScript. I'm going to stick with JavaScript, Tailwind, REM in here instead of pixels, and you can choose different type of like settings in here to choose from. And last but not least, you click on view coding builder, and this actually will take a little bit of time. So here it's going to ask you, oh, you review, because it finds some untagged layers in here. So you can ignore for those for now. And you can immediately notice, oh, this is actually going to start preparing the assets. You're going to start moving the designs in here from your landing page in here into the Locofy builder, where you can actually see the designs and see the actual code, and you can edit them in real time. All right, everything is done. So you can go ahead and click on view code in builder, and this will go ahead and open Locofy AI. They open up the platform for us with everything ready made. And there you go. So here you got your design, which is like the actual design, the actual one design that you were just playing with in Figma. You got your code from this side, you got your CSS in here. Even you have your Tailwind configuration here, so you can play around with it however you want. So inside of the Locofy builder, once you sync your code and you have like your design, so whatever design you had in here, all the frames or like the pages you had before in the Figma design are going to be automatically synced and generated for you to an actual code, depending on the settings, of course, that you've chose before. And if you look closely into this, as you see here, it uses the class names, it uses the Tailwind class names to make the styling happen. From the right hand side in here, you will be able to pass in whatever value props you want to your component. So if you want to add like custom props, you can go in here and actually add those props really easily to your components. Or from the left hand side in here, it actually tells you the structure of your web page. So for example, inside of the landing page in here, we got a top header, we got like a hero section where it just shows you like how to search or how you can search for your house, where you got like, all the tags, everything's going to be outlined for you from the left hand side in here, and you can have everything you want to access for. And you're going to have access to all the different pages that you have worked on your design here from the Figma design. And you can go to different pages that you actually generated for you in here from your design, from landing page to the properties grid view, and so on and so forth. And if you want to check the full source code and only see the source code in here, there you go. Actually generated for you a project ready made using like, have pages in here. You have your own created components in here. You have app.js where you can use it. It's as simple as that. So there's actually another AI feature here you can use with Locofy, your local AI in here, where you can actually allow the AI to do auto components for you. So what I mean by that, so for example, in here, if you go to components, there's actually make components automatically. So you can click on that one and it's going to scan all of your design in here. It's going to scan the code and everything. It's going to actually suggest for you components. You can extract those components from like, different, like for example, this is a landing page. So you can, for example, you can go in and extract like, oh, the home container, which is like this one, you can go ahead and extract it into its own custom separate component. And it can actually do that for you automatically, and you can basically use that component or reuse it later on different pages or throughout the same design. And it also does actually pre-fill components, so it automatically generates the components for you need. For example, home IDs in here, it gives it like, oh, the value, this is actually the icon, and for example, the home text, for example, sell your home. So the actual text you see in here, like sell your home, is pre-filled in the prop. And it's curiosity also, it detected that we have 4 cards in here. So sell your home, rent your home, buy a home, and a free marketing. So we have got 3 cards, and all of these cards are actually going to be extended, are going to use the same shared component here, which is called the home container, after we create it. And also does some like style props in here, for example, prop padding or prop width. So of course, each card in here can have a completely different value. For example, if you increase this one, like, oh, I want to have like a 25 something. So you can just do that for this particular card or something, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep it the same way. We've got the 4 cards in here, and what you can do, accept 4 instances. You click OK on this one, and Sequelize immediately goes and creates that one for us. So if you go to your components in here, you know, like there's already some components already generated. So this, if you want to go like one component at a time, but if you want to accept all of them, you can just go ahead and click accept all, and all of the components throughout the design are going to be created for you very easily. So now if you go and search throughout your components in here, you know, oh, there's this new component created by local AI, which is called the home container.js, and Sequelize in here has the props we already defined, and it works basically the same way. And now the new cards are actually using this component. So if you go to a landing page in here and you search for home container, particularly we got, oh, 4 home container cards, all of them are using props, and now we've got like a shared component being used throughout the design. And the nice thing about this, actually, you can go ahead and create your own custom components. For example, in here, this property card here, where it shows like the property image, the name, the value of the property, you can actually take this from a hard-coded property, because right now it's just like hard-coded inside of the, you know, properties git view. What you can do for this is actually go ahead and abstract this into its own custom component, and you can reuse this component onto like multiple components or multiple pages. So for example, you can select like whatever you want to abstract in here and create a component for it. You can go to the like right hand side. You can go ahead and do like make component. You click on it. You can go in and just like name whatever your component. For example, I'm going to name it property card, and I'm going to create. You can memorize this. You can do React memorization for that component. You can create, and this will go ahead and create a property card for us. So if I go back in here and check the source code real quickly, Sequelize, it created a new component for me that has all the information from here. But there's actually one thing about this. Sequelize in here, the text is still hard-coded. It's not receiving those through props. That means this is actually not a reusable component. So we need to make it look like a reusable component by just providing those values like the name, the value, the image in here. They should not be hard-coded, but they should be provided through props. So what we can do, we can go back to like our component here, make sure the component is still selected on top, and you can go to like add value props. You can click add, and here it's going to give you a list of like values that are already existing in here that you can add props for them. For example, I can go and do and add a property image for that one, and you can just give it like the current value, whatever. You can give it a default value as well. I'm going to leave it empty, and I'm going to click enter. This will go ahead and replace it. Sequelize immediately replace the src in here with the property image through props. Cool. I can go ahead and add a couple of more. I can add like the name as well in here. This is actually the value. You can change the prop name. So the prop name should be property name, and I can click save. As Sequelize replace that, and also I need the property value real quickly. So property value, I can do property value. And this is actually the name of the prop that you're going to be using later on to pass the actual value into the component in here. So you can click save, and there you go. So you got property name, property value, and the property image props being passed down through into our custom component. So if I go back to the code in here, inside of the properties grid view for a web page in here, Sequelize, like 2 of those properties are already using the property card that we created and abstracted. So how can we make the other ones work as well? So you can just go in and select whatever, you know, card you want in here. You can go do make a component, but instead of creating a new component, you go to choose an existing component and you select property card. It automatically detects that, so that's pretty good. So you select that, and as you can see here, all of those props are actually being passed through. So if you go back to the properties grid view, you scroll down a little bit. There you go. So we got all the property cards in here being passed down, which looks amazing. And by just moving all of those to using the custom component, that made the code a lot more cleaner and easier to read. And once you're actually done with the design and actually playing around with the Locofy builder, playing around with all the code in here, all the props and components, you can actually go ahead and share this prototype with your team or with somebody else So you can do view prototype. It actually gives you the full prototype in here. Like you can interact with it. You can do however you want, like as you would interact with a real website. And you can go to share prototype and you can copy the link for this one, or you can even send the link to the email address. You go back in here, click the link. That will actually go ahead and just give you the full website, and you can share it with anybody else, and they can just experience the full website live in here from Locofy, and it can just like work with it as they would work with a real website or the finalized version of the website. Now, at the final step, you would probably want just go ahead and have all your code in here, all your design and components actually exported for you, and you can use the project as you would like. So if you go to export or deploy, you can either deploy to Netlify or Virtual or something, or you can go and export the whole project in here as a zip file. So once you click it, it's just going to tell you, oh, you have some code quality you can improve. You can review that, but I'm going to ignore this for now. And it tells you exactly what are the pages that you want to export. I'm going to do all of them, screens and component. I'm going to import, or basically like export everything in here. And there you go. So now we have downloaded the whole zip file, the projects, everything. That's good. So I can click done in here, and I can just go to my downloads and open that in VS Code, and you can just see what goes. And there you go. So if you go to localhost, there you go. We got our website in here. It works absolutely fine. It's basically as you pretty much created like an actual website, where you've got like, for example, select your property, where's this a drop down in here, you can select locations, pretty much you got the buttons in here actually working and interactive. You can scroll down. It's pretty much the same as the Figma design we had before, but we had Locofy just taking that, doing its magic, and actually with some auto tagging and manual tagging in here, we went out with this really awesome design and the full React application with everything we need. And Locofy as well works fine with GitHub. So if you go to like export deploy and you go to push to GitHub in here, you're gonna have this window to connect to GitHub, or you can authenticate with your GitHub token. So you can put your token in here, click connect. After you've connected in here, it's gonna tell you, oh, you can choose whatever repository you want. So I'm gonna go with a new repository. I'm gonna name it Locofy. And this actually will push to the main branch by default. So I can do confirm repo and branch. And this will go ahead and actually push and create the branch for us in our GitHub, and actually push all the projects in here into our GitHub repo. And he actually gives you a screen to actually choose between the folders that you want to push or not. So you can just like untick something if you don't want to have this pushed out into your new repository, or even you can go ahead and rename the name in here. You can just add whatever you want, or even you can go ahead and create a new folder if you want to. So simply in here, after doing review files, you can go ahead and push to GitHub in here. And once the push is actually done, you're going to have that being pushed to your GitHub, and you can just go to the repository in here, and you're going to find all the files and everything, or basically all the projects pushed out for you. And for instance, there's actually a really cool feature about Locofy, which called the smart merge. So this actually allows you, for example, if you basically have like the file in here, let's say the landing page inside of your project got changed by somebody else, like a developer in your team. So for example, they did a change like where they went into the rent button in here. You see this button in here, it's actually the main rent button. And let's say they did some changes, like they went through and put like, so let's see. So I can change, for example, the background in here from primary 500 to like green 500, okay? And I go ahead and actually merge that, so I can do commit changes, extend description, so just update, confirm changes. So here actually I put a new commit, and it should actually work absolutely fine. And let's say there's actually another UI designer that went through the design in here through Locofy and tries to actually change the design of this one. For example, it goes to styling in here and actually changes the color of the button from like wherever the violet in here is just to something like reddish, around reddish in here. Click done, and actually he syncs that into the actual code. So if you sync back the design to the Locofy folder back again, and let's say you try to go ahead and push that to GitHub, so you push in changes and it tries to actually, put the new changes in there. So you do confirm and push the branch. So it immediately recognizes that there is some merge conflicts inside of the landing page in here, which is pretty good for us because it tells you that, oh, there's like the landing page in here has been changed in 2 places. So you first need to go ahead and do resolve conflicts, and it's going to give you this 3-way kind of like merge conflicts, and you can like accept the incoming or, the current in here. So depending on what you want, let's say I'm going to accept the GitHub change or accept the Locofy change in here. Let's say, oh, I want to accept the Locofy change in here. Mark as resolved, and actually complete the merge and push. And that's good. This actually will complete the merge, will fix the merge conflicts, and actually push the new code into GitHub. And you can actually manage and change the code however you want, as it's like a real application. So basically in here, let's say, for example, you have a Suba-based database in here that you want to have access to, and actually you want to fetch the data and actually render. The data in here could be, for example, the information of the properties are stored inside of this Suba-based database, and I want to just go ahead and access those. For example, in here, I can have like my credentials for the Suba base. I can go ahead and do like create a client. I'm going to do a use effect in here to just basically go ahead and fetch the data from the Suba base in here and see, oh, if it's an error, just throw that error in there and just otherwise set the data in the state. And later on, we can just go ahead inside of the state itself, or inside of the GSX down the row over here, and we can just use the data we have actually set on the state. We can map through the data, we can access the properties in here, and we can just render it. And you can go ahead and change the properties in here and pass the accordion props from the fetch data from the database. And that should work flawlessly. So as you can see, Locofy is actually built to actually help developers like me and you to ship code faster and create a good code and convert the designs like the awesome Figma designs into an actual working code in just a couple of minutes, instead of like spending the whole development process into that. So instead of like competing with developers, it actually helps developers quite a lot, which gives us like time actually to focus on complex logic like backend logic or something that actually matters or needs the most of time, while the UI design is actually going to be taken care of by the designer himself and make really, really good designs shine.